let's get to the touchpad. Yeah, you want to tell us a few interesting things about the Super Eagles?
Yeah, as the competition has progressed, we've seen the approach is also changing, because in the group stages, you can have one formula that fits every team. You just have to go ensure you get a win or a draw, and you have a better chance of progressing from the group. But as you face different opponents in the knockout stages, you have to be a bit more specialized in the approach. And with Nigeria against South Africa, that's the base case here. We realized that there were a lot of opportunities for Nigeria to build up and show different variations to how they can build up. For South Africa, what they also did was to sort of mirror Nigeria. So it meant that we saw Nigeria against their own formation, how they would cope or how they would approach it. In this particular attack, you can tell that Nigeria have decided that we'll go the wide route. So here, I think it's Lukman. Lukman is out wide.
That's Moses Simon.
Simon, and Lukman's here. Yeah, Lukman's here. And the agenda really is to create 1v1s, because they know Simon and Lukman against any player got the trickery to beat the man and get the ball into Osimhen. That's what they were trying to do. And I foresee them trying the same thing against La Côte d'Ivoire, primarily because Single would offer you a bit space to do that.
Okay.
Indika, he's rather slow. Boli, rather slow. And they might mark Osimhen, but they might go with a bit more force. And we saw that in the first game, and that's how the penalty came about. So he's gone out wide, he's alone with the player, and he ensures that he's using his trickery to create space for himself so that Olaina can get on the ball, or this case, Iwobi gets on the ball. And all he has to do is, well, he has the option of a cross. From here, or from here, or from out wide here, or here. When you're crossing the ball deep, your option really is to get the ball here into the penalty spot, alternatively, or you can bring the ball out here yourself and have a shot. And it's quite interesting. When you're playing the ball from that area, defenders find it very difficult to deal with, because it's going over their head. They don't know if they should attack it. If they miss it, what happens behind them? So a lot of the time, you'd expect wingers or wide players to try and cross from here. We see it all over the leagues nowadays, where players will shoot from here because it looks like a nicer goal. But really, if you can get a cross in there, like with the aerial ability of Iwobi and the height that he's got, Osimhen, he can easily finish that. But Iwobi decides to go for, well, as you know, something beautiful, and it's dealt with quite easily. But if he went for Osimhen in that position, I can assure you it will be something different.
But something you even pointed out with what South Africa could have done against Nigeria, just as he was about to take that shot, because he's drawn players to him, there's someone right in the D who is open. If he lays that pass to him, it's a simpler goal.
Exactly. When we look at another
then it would mean that the Ivorians, it would mean that Jean-Michel Seri would have to be very alive.
Yes. I think, yes, he could be alive, but there's always the risk of turnovers and transitions starting from him, attacking transitions for Nigeria.
I'm even talking about when the Nigerians set the play up and then you have to cut it back.
He's the most important person in this game. But then if they decide to set up where all 5 players are coming back, then they can make it as narrow as possible. You have Frank Kessie and Fofana to support him, and they'll make the space a bit narrow for Nigeria, and then they'll be forced to either recycle the ball or go out wide for them. And this particular scenario, we realized that, well, Nigeria really can create something out of nothing. We've seen them do the whole put it on the edge of the box or just use the wide players to get Osimhen in there. But here, rather, it's Bright. He gets the ball in. That's what I'm talking about, that Nigeria have the alternative to attack from deep. This game, Olaina was on the left-hand side, Bright was on the right-hand side, and he knew that, look, the aerial ability of Osimhen will be superior to the South Africans, and it almost yielded a goal because once the ball comes in, he's always going to get a head on there. And with the Ivory Coast, we've noticed that against other teams, there are players that are marking, but then when the ball comes in, it takes a lot of effort to try and get contact on the ball. And if they don't take care, Osimhen will take advantage of that. We know he loves to suspend in the air and wait for the ball to make contact. And with the quality of delivery that we've seen, it will certainly be a problem for La Côte d'Ivoire.
Okay.
Then we look at the fact that Nigeria also have the ability to take advantage of Osimhen's pace. They create goal-scoring opportunities and you're forced to make tackles, and there's a penalty. We saw it against La Côte d'Ivoire early on in the tournament and against South Africa as well. All that needed was a ball down the channel for Osimhen, and because he's the focal point, he has the choice of, I'm taking it all the way to shoot, or I can be a decoy, set the ball back, and then be on my way again. But because they had tried different variations, no goal, they decided this way might be the best way. So Osimhen waiting for the ball here. He gets in this wide area, and in this wide area, his options really are, any defender is going to make sure you keep him going this way. Once you allow him to come this way, then you're in trouble. So you want to ensure that someone like Osimhen, you're pushing him further away from the box where he's forced to pass and get into the box for supply, or he has to go back. But once you allow him a touch and he can come into the box, then you find yourself in trouble because now he can turn and face you. And if he's turning to face you, all he has to do is ensure that, okay, I will put you in a very, very precarious situation. You have to make a tackle or you have to force me to go wide. And in this situation, Mvala had no choice but to bring him down. And that is a threat because in an Ivorian setup, what we've seen is that back four, Conan seems to join the attack a bit more. And when it's just Indika and Kusunu or Boli, there are concerns there.
I'm sure the Ivorians will be happy Kusunu is not going to play.
He's available.
I think he's available. It was a double. It
was
a
a
second
double
yellow
yellow.
card.
Second yellow card.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
himself and is it
Diakite.
Yeah.
will be
I think the
available for him.
Akite, I don't think Kusunu, after what MS5 saw, I wonder if he wants to put Kusunu, because the next, if you ask me, Kusunu crumbled under the weight
Of the pressure.
of pressure, and the occasion got to him. And now, if you put him up against Osimhen, I mean, he's smart. He is going to bait him and force him into those decisions. And the last thing you want is another red card.
Well, not to show here, but against, for Kusunu, he's on the right-hand side. He'll be facing Lukman and probably Osimhen through the channels. He'll have a lot of work to do. He has to be on his best behavior. And if that means being on his best behavior, he has to probably not make the tackles he has to. And that might present opportunities for Nigeria. So it might be best for Fai to avoid him until they're leading 1-0 and they need to protect the lead.
Just a final note on choices in the back four. To counter Osimhen's height, Willy Bolly, anybody?
Yeah, I think that's the partnership that got them through the semi-final.
Yeah.
So for me, you stick with that. Bully experience had on him, some Premier League experience. It looked like him and Indika have some form of understanding. But then now the issue will be the goalkeeper. Should he over-anticipate and come for the ball and he doesn't get it? That creates problem. So in corner situations, he will need to be protected, or he will need to know exactly what he's doing. If I'm not getting to this ball, I'm not committing. I trust my big men to be able to deal with Osimhen. If I'm getting to the ball, then yes, I'm committing. So it leans into the tactic they may probably have to start Halle for this game, for set-piece situations also to help with the aerial
On the defensive
defending.
side. Okay.
Yeah, and again, just like Emmanuel said, in the middle of the back four, you keep the partnership. as much as it's lacking in pace, you trust your wide men. Single, and since he came on after Kusunu's red card, has shown a lot of, he's been a positive addition to the squad, as well as Conan. So it might be best for them to keep the same back four, but probably they need support from their middlemen, tracking runners, because Lukman and Simon do drop in deep, but then they go out wide, and if you don't take care, it might present them with perfect goal scoring opportunities. A last highlight for Nigeria. We've seen that they've been, one goal from direct attacks, but we haven't appreciated the fact that they can go wide. And if you appreciate the fact that they can go wide, you realize that there's a lot that they can do with the ball. Because in this particular scenario, Lukman's got on the ball, and Osimhen's over here, and Osimhen's about to make this run. He can go this way, he can go this way, he can go that way. But it requires a winger that can get onto the ball and just create a simple cutback for him. And you realize that once he's gone onto the ball, there's the option of Osimhen's right here. They are concerned. You can see right here that, look, these two don't know what they have to do. Who's taking Osimhen? Is it me? Is it you? And that presents him right here with a chance to make the run right there. Once he's making that run, there's concern and opportunity for Osimhen to also make that run. And that alone shows that Nigeria have the ability to go wide. And if you have players that are susceptible or have lapses in concentration, you'll find yourself wanting. Because immediately this happens, that run is made. Ideally, if the ball came to that player who made the run, it's a simple side foot into the back of the net. And that's probably what Nigeria have to exploit against La Côte d'Ivoire.
You mentioned the cutback against Angola. That's how Nigeria scored.
Exactly.
Ball goes wide, Osimhen makes a run, Lukman darts in.
Yes.
And then
Exactly.
Lukman's second goal against Cameroon.
Yeah.
How they
I think that was
engineered the
Calvin
sequence.
Bassey.
Yes. Ball goes to Bassi, he goes in, cross comes
Exactly,
in.
and that shows that they have some variation. Osimhen, he won't be top goal scorer, but he's offered Nigeria so much flexibility in terms of how they attack, and that might be their trump card against La Côte d'Ivoire, because if they concern themselves too much with what Osimhen's doing, Simon, Lukman, potentially Ehinyacho will harm their potential title charge. So it's important for them to find a way to deal with the Osimhen problem, but then it has to be responsibility being passed on. If I'm in the central midfield position and I'm tracking him and I'm going beyond where I have to be, you need to ensure that you've handed him over appropriately to your centre back, or else you find him creating issues in your back line.
But that would also mean that if Nigeria decide to operate wide, it would also mean if Max Gradel starts, you put him in a situation where he doesn't like, because he doesn't have the legs to do much defending. And maybe, you can say Adingra, based on how he plays at Brighton, would like to press. But when they are on the back foot and he will have to engage players, he would have to cover runs, that could be something that would disturb them. So that's something Nigeria could also exploit.
I see.